hours after pulling out of the Max Crosby blockbuster, the Ravens pivoting, signing free agent defensive end Trey Hendrickson. Adam Schefter reporting the All-Pro is getting a 4-year, $112 million deal with $60 million fully guaranteed. Sources say Baltimore had medical concerns with Crosby's surgically repaired knee. So, which of these elite pass rushers would you rather have, Max Crosby or Trey Hendrickson? Hendrickson has more sacks over the last 6 seasons, while Crosby has more tackles for loss and has played more games. The 4-time Pro Bowler Hendrickson is 31, 3 years older than 5-time Pro Bowler Crosby. Matt?
Yeah, what an interesting night it was. Dan Graziano, Harry Douglas, Mike Tannenbaum here to break down one of the more bizarre stories we've seen as the new league year begins. And Dan, I want to start with you. How did this happen?
Well, Baltimore had agreed to the trade, 2 first-round picks for Max Crosby last Friday. When they got Crosby in for a physical, all trades are always contingent upon completion of a physical, and no trades can be official until 4 p.m. Eastern today, the start of the new league year. They got him in for a physical yesterday. They saw something on the physical that gave them some concerns about the longevity of the knee that he had surgery on in January. You know, not necessarily will he be able to play this year, but how long do we think we might have him if we're giving up 2 first-round picks? So they told the Raiders yesterday they were not comfortable moving ahead with the deal. Meantime, they had already been talking to Trey Hendrickson, who was a free agent who was looking for a multi-year deal and whose price was not being met by the teams he was talking to. So after they decide to pull out of the Crosby deal, the Ravens go back to Hendrickson. They offer him apparently 4 years. He's been looking for a longer-term deal than just 1 or 2. They were able to hammer out an agreement overnight or early this morning to bring Hendrickson on to help solve their pass rush, and now they get the 2 first-round picks back that they had agreed to trade to the Raiders for Max Crosby.
You know, and dating back to last week, it's why we say on SportsCenter, they say it on NFL Live all the time, deals are expected to happen when the new league year begins. The deal cannot be consummated until the new league year begins. We're seeing that today, Mike Tannenbaum, with the Ravens. They get out of the trade, they keep their first 2 first-round picks, and they're able to get Trey Hendrickson. Your thoughts now, because the league's probably looking around, the eyebrows raised, thinking, well, how did this happen?
So, Matt, again, the process of a physical is extremely subjective. The most famous example was Drew Brees. When Nick Saban was the head coach of the Miami Dolphins, Drew Brees failed his physical in Miami. He went up to the Saints, passed his physical. The rest is history. I believe Max Crosby will pass a physical with another team. For whatever reason, the Ravens doctor didn't think from what they expected to what they saw, whatever their reason was, they failed him. And again, as Graz said, Matt, because it's before 4 o'clock on Wednesday, and since he failed it, they keep their 2 first-round picks. Max Crosby and his $30 million salary goes back to the Raiders. And what the Ravens did is they were opportunistic. They went out and got Trey Hendrickson. And a lot of people feel like they're better off with Trey Hendrickson at roughly $28 million a year and 2 first-round picks in lieu of Max Crosby.
I think a lot of people agree with that. You're getting a top-flight pass rusher, Harry Douglas, and you get to build in the first round in the draft. So what exactly does Hendrickson bring to the field for the Ravens, who you have to consider already a Super Bowl contender?
Well, number one, you look at his background, a guy that's had a lot of production in the National Football League, rushing the quarterback, but you have a veteran presence, a guy that can be a leader as well. They're also getting a well-motivated player. When you look at the last few years and how things have went down in Cincinnati and Max Crosby not getting that long deal, where you're getting a player that's remaining in the AFC North, that understands the division as well, but desperately going to be motivated to play at a high level. You're going to get a guy. Outside of last year, he only played in 7 games but still had 4 sacks. But the previous 2, no one across the National Football League in that 2-year span had more sacks like like Trey Hendrickson. And that's a guy that had 35. So you're still getting that premier pass rusher, a guy that can be elite and going to get the quarterback. But also, like Mike Tannenbaum just alluded to, you get to keep your 2 first-round draft picks while still having someone that could be relentless in rushing the quarterback.
And, Dan, it's easy here to focus on the Ravens side of the things because they were breaking all the news. But then there's the Raiders component. They spent a ton of money in free agency, $282 million. So what now for them with a player they thought they were getting rid of today at 4 o'clock?
Well, what we're being told is that the Raiders will honor all the contracts that they agreed to on Monday and Tuesday. Now, remember, until 4 o'clock Eastern today, none of those contracts can be official. The team could back out. The player could back out. My understanding is that is not expected to happen with any of these deals. The Raiders went into this week with a ton of salary cap space. So even bringing back Max Crosby and his $35 million cap hit, which they were rid of a sizable chunk of if they make the trade, even then they can still be under the cap with all these deals. Possible they may have to go back in and rework the first year or second year of some of them, but it doesn't sound like it. The Raiders have the salary cap room to bring Crosby back onto their cap and still get all these deals done with the guys you just saw on that page.
Graz, that may be the case, but what's unfortunate from the Raiders' standpoint is they never planned on paying $30 million for Max Crosby and to do all those other deals. So now that they're out in the market trying to make a trade again, they don't have the leverage. And I think what they could come out of this best-case scenario is to do it for a firm pick this year and a conditional pick next year. And what I mean by that, take a team like Buffalo or Indianapolis where it's for a second-round pick in 2026, and then let's say a second-round pick in 2027 with conditions based on how he plays this year. So, for example, if he plays 70% or more of the snaps and the team makes the playoffs or some other condition, then that second-round pick next year goes to a first-round pick. Because, again, a trade paper is a legal contract between Team A and Team B, and they can negotiate certain conditions, something we did at the Jets when we had Brett Favre, where we gave up a third-round pick, but that third could have turned into a first-round pick if we had postseason success.
So I would say this, Mike T. If I'm Spytek, general manager for the Las Vegas Raiders, if there's any conversations about me only receiving a second-round draft pick or multiple second-round draft picks for Max Crosby, then I'm not trading them. Worst case scenario, I'm going to figure out a way to get it done to keep him on my football team because I'm not getting back what I first knew I can possibly get. If I can't hear a first-round draft pick, and I get it, your asking price may have to go down a little bit, but I'm still thinking about a first-round draft pick and possibility of a third-round draft pick. If we're just talking about second-round draft picks, then Max Crosby is going to be in a Las Vegas Raiders uniform for 2026.
You were just getting 2 first-round picks, so you know there's a market out here for him of that magnitude. So having said all of this, Dan, what is the realistic market for Max Crosby now?
Yeah, it's significantly altered from last week. The Dallas Cowboys were serious contenders for a Max Crosby trade. The Ravens' offer beat theirs, but the Cowboys have since agreed to acquire Rashawn Gary from the Green Bay Packers, and checking in with people there in Dallas, it sounds like they have no interest at this time in revisiting the Max Crosby trade talks. Other teams, such as Washington, have agreed to terms with pass rushers. Carolina, at high numbers, and likely won't be able to pursue Max Crosby if they were even interested in that before. So I think what you'll see here is the Raiders kind of regroup. They had meetings last night. What do we do now? Can we afford all these guys? What do we do with Max? I think right now, given how depressed the value is of Max Crosby as a trade asset, you'll see the Raiders take their time, maybe revive some of these talks as we get closer to the draft or later into the summer. But there is a scenario where he's on their team in 2026.
Yeah, the first thing I wondered when this happened last night, would there be a domino effect? We haven't seen it as of yet, but again, 2 hours to the new league year begins. I guess anything is possible after last night. Gentlemen, wild stuff. Thank you for your contribution.
Hey, this just in, Adam Schefter reporting the Colts and quarterback Daniel Jones agreeing on a 2-year, $88 million deal. Indy had put the transition tag on Jones, but besides, we're working on a new deal. Jones led the league in passing in the first 10 weeks last year, but his season ended in Week 14 with an Achilles rupture. He's still rehabbing. Here's Jones today on Pat McAfee, new on SportsCenter.
My goal is to be back by Week 1 and be ready to go. I think that's what we're working towards and should be able to accomplish. So it's all a process, and we'll keep checking the boxes, working with the guys here with the Colts, and feel good about that. So I'm planning on being back, and the goal is shooting for Week 1.
Daniel Jones ranking among the top quarterbacks in the NFL in most statistical categories last season before suffering that torn Achilles in Week 14. He recorded his first 3,000-yard season since 2022 and had his most combined pass and rushing touchdowns since he was a rookie.